Hola, buenos días, soy Nico.
Girl, you wanted that boy dick in your booty. You're so sweetie. Bottom. Bye.
And today, I'm here with my waves. Waves on swim, so they hate on him. Exactly. But today we're going to be talking about multiple topics for the sole purpose that I was going to talk about Yardiestyle coming forward to being a bisexual father. Nico, he had bisexual in his platform, but he basically made a tweet saying that his girlfriend was FaceTiming him while he was on an airplane. She said, "My punani so moist and juicy, daddy. You know it's waiting for you." And it was on speaker, and he was embarrassed, and it was a funny little joke. And people were like, "Girl." And Yardiestyle was basically like, "Yes, I am bisexual. I tend to date women, but gay adult cinematography sells more, so I am actively making films with men." And it clicked in my head that, you know what? Because he's not wrong. When you look at heterosexual adult cinematography, the male counterparts do not make money. They do not make a large part of the revenue because it's focused on the women. But when you see straight performers making large amounts of revenue, they're usually doing quote-unquote gay for pay or gay pandering content, such as, let's say, Granny Glaze, James Angel, Eric Tucker, etc. Yes, they do their straight scenes, but it's usually with studios like See Him F, which is focused on the male, even though it's a heterosexual interaction. But that was interesting because people begin to go through his videos and you can actually see a clip of a of a picture frame in one of Yardiestyl's videos. It's basically, "I love you, dad," and there's a picture of his daughter, and I'm just sitting here like, there's levels to this. There's levels to this. And it was funny because he was like, "I don't understand why y'all are so mad. I'm a multifaceted person. I can like what I like." And I actually agree with him, and I think it's important that especially bisexual content creators come forward and say, "Yes, you see me sleeping with men, but I also have an attraction to women," which I think gets thrown out of the way when you see somebody with enough men. But this man clearly has a family and a girlfriend and is still filming with men. But people also brought up the argument of, it's so interesting because it's another bisexual complex where people fear that you're only sleeping with men for a sexual outlet and or for money, but you give the respect and the time and the care and the TLC of courting to women. And that's what a lot of people don't like in the community. So that's why they actively shun a lot of bisexual men. So it's an interesting dialogue in itself, and I was going to cover that in an expansive video. But then somebody wrote the coat sleeves of this conversation on Yardiestyle to basically air him out, saying, "We did this video in early February, and yes, I had you come out here. Yes, we filmed. Yes, we did all of this content, and you finished editing it, and you're about to post it. But I changed my mind now because I'm in a different mindset." And this is Thiquecam. Nico, I was actually going to do a video on him too. It's all coming full circle, so this is about to be a jam-packed video full of information. But before we get on his part of the story, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me on patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive videos, weekly lives, and be a part of the podcast, which is airing. I'm just going to stop doing a lot of editing. There's no longer going to be background music. You're going to get strict dialogue because I noticed that everybody else, they don't put in as much effort into their content, into their podcast like I do. So I'm stressing myself out. I'm adding extra work on top of work on top of work for something that no one else is doing. So yes, it's going to be coming out. It's just going to be plain dialogue with a multifaceted panel. But getting back onto Thiquecam, I was going to do a video on him because earlier he basically made a tweet saying the reason I haven't been posting content anymore is because a lot of adult cinematography performers have HIV and they do not disclose it, and that's disgusting to me, and that's the reason why I'm not making content anymore. Because yes, they can be undetectable, but it's the fact that you're lying to me, you're creating fake test results. I come to your house and I see the medication you have to take. It's all about honesty. And I agree with him in the fact that I'm one of those people that always says you should be transparent about your sexual health with people you're having super happy adult fun time with, especially if it is unprotected. Even if you are undetectable, That's just my standpoint. But as someone who is negative, I can't tell you what to do with your body. Even if I was positive, I would not be able to tell you what to do with your body. But I feel like transparency when we're about to have a very vulnerable moment is very important. I actually made a few videos about people who withheld that information from me, and it kind of threw a wrench in our conversation because I've openly dated positive people multiple times. Like, my longest relationships are usually with positive people because they are still people at the end of the day. It's more so I don't want you lying to me. I'm a very transparent person. But yes, moving on, because he was getting some pushback because a lot of people were basically saying it's the fact that you said a lot of creators, so you're pushing a stigma and a narrative that a lot of people who make adult cinematography are HIV positive. And that's not something you can speak on, seeing as how you do not know every performer. And he came back and said, I can push whatever kind of narrative I want, and I know enough performers to know what I know, and I blah, 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 blah. You don't know who I know, and I got all this information, but he didn't back anything up. So I actually agree with him, the person that came forward to basically combat his opinion, because it is not okay to paint a broad stroke. Because like this person said, whenever someone gets into it with a performer, the first thing they go to is, you have HIV. And this was a prime example in the video that I did about Pablo Strokes and that Trump supporter that shit himself on national TV. He basically said that Pablo Strokes was positive, and Pablo came back and said, that's not actually true. I don't know where you came up with that. And he doubled down and basically said, well, he's an adult performer, so he has to be. I don't know about y'all. There are not that many adult performers in active, duty. If anything, they usually have to stay on top of their sexual health. Some are positive. I come across a few, but it's more so you can't do a broad stroke, especially when it's usually non-performers that are HIV positive, for the sole reason that in the day-to-day, a lot of people are not encouraged to get tested regularly. A lot of people are still afraid of the stigma that comes with even taking a preventative such as PrEP. But that's the entire argument in itself. You can drop your opinions down below, definitely how you feel about people coming forward and being transparent about their sexual health and, having that open dialogue, because he tried to clean it up and say, well, I just feel like you should have this open dialogue to erase the stigma, which I agree. I believe we should be having these conversations with our sexual partners, but I also believe you cannot make a broad stroke while saying, oh, all these people have HIV. That's like somebody of a different race saying all black gay men have HIV, or a lot of black gay men have HIV. Yes, some do, but you cannot do that broad stroke. So that's the statement that I disagreed with. But moving forward, I know, I'm sorry, this is a very compact. Usually I would be onto the actual story and we would just have the dialogue at this point. But Cam got into it with Yardiestyle, basically saying, this is why I no longer do collabs, and we did this video and I no longer want it up. And he's still saying that he's gonna post it because he basically flew out to see me, we recorded it, he edited it, and now I don't want it up because I've changed my mind. And I have the right to retract my consent, which is true. Because when I first read it, I'm like, okay, but I like to sit down and think for a second, which is true. If you do not want something up, you can retract consent. If you do not want to have intercourse with somebody, you can retract consent at any time. In this particular situation, I would just tell Yardiestyle, chalk it up to the game, but also going forward, use contracts for the sole purpose of, we agreed to link for this purpose of filming. We agreed to make the content, to both have rights to it, because like a well-known performer, Phoenix, basically commented, this is a job. It is childish to say, okay, I want to film for a video, we make the video, you do all the work, you come here, you travel, you pay for Airbnb, you edit, and now I don't want to do it anymore, even though you've done other collabs and they're all up anyways. So I understand changing your mind and I understand retracting consent, but at a business standpoint, I would tell Yardiestyle to implement contracts, because this does not look good as a performer. If you are agreeing to make a scene with somebody and then you wait, because it's currently May, you wait 4 months after it's done, after it's edited, after everything happens, and then you're like, oh, I no longer want it up. Just do everything through contracts, because yes, you do have the right to retract consent, but at the end of the day, you met up with the sole purpose of filming content for both of your OnlyFans. So the fact that you're trying to retract the rights to the video that was already created and edited and about to go up, it invalidates the entire purpose of me going down there to have intercourse with you. So at that point, it was just sexual manipulation. So definitely drop your opinions down below, because I can see both sides, because yes, you do have the right to retract your consent, but at the end of the day, a deal is a deal. So I respect both sides, but I would just say start putting everything through a contract. That's why I only do collabs with people I have personal intimacy with, along with you are an active OnlyFans performer. I do not want to do, scenes with people, oh, I'm not really in the scene, oh, I just want to get into it, oh, I really want to. You're not about to waste my time and money, because I don't need any extra shenanigans into the pot. But yes, I hope you're able to process all this information, because it was all back to the people that I was going to cover in multiple videos, all just going at it in one solid go. But yes, definitely drop your opinions down below. How do you feel about the fact that a lot of performers still do have personal lives outside of scenes, seeing as how Yardiestyle has a girlfriend and multiple children? How do you feel about the fact that content creators are always brushed with the stroke of having HIV, even though a part of the community outside of content creation also has HIV? Because I believe the statistic was that 1 out of 2 Black gay men will contract HIV. I will double check that before I fully put this video up, but I remember I watched a documentary on HIV in Atlanta. So it's like, this is a community-wide issue, and it's not right to make a broad stroke on a small fraction of the community, trying to demonize them and feel yourself as holier than thou. But also drop your opinion on retracting consent on an agreed upon contract. Because at the end of the day, this was a business contract. You both agreed to meet up for this purpose of filming. You both had intercourse. The video was edited. It was about to go up. And now you're getting cold feet. For whatever reasons, you are allotted your own reasons. You don't have to explain yourself. But now you're trying to retract consent for a product that's already been done, produced, and ready to go out. So yes, definitely drop your opinions down below. Boop. And now for a brief yet sincere shout out to this week's Third Eye tier subscribers, Cortland A and Southwestern Poppy. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. Thank you once again. And next week's live stream conversation is going to be a virtual hangout, because I will be in New York City for my birthday. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in.